Good morning folks, and welcome back to the channel. It is a new week here in the life of a 23-year-old business owner. Carrying on from last week, we were back out to finish the job that we had started last week. Progressed relatively well considering the weather conditions that we were faced with. As you can see, the snow has now all thawed out. You can now see what we're doing and we can crack on with most things that you cannot do when the snow is on the ground. But it is also really wet. It has rained pretty religiously all day. We've been pushing reviews pretty hard this year. We're currently sitting on 95 5-star reviews on Google. We're aiming for 100 by the end of the year. We've very much shifted from trying to get more customers to doing more for the customers that we already have. You don't have to go and then get a new customer, build a new relationship, build a new level of trust. You've already built that with the customer through maintaining them on a regular basis, and you can then produce more, revenue from said customer. Good morning folks, and welcome back to the channel. It is a new week here in the life of a 23-year-old business owner, a landscape business owner to be precise. And the whole idea of this vlog is to try and showcase you the ins and outs, the ups, the downs, the good and the bad of running and growing a business that I started from scratch a number of years ago now. Carrying on from last week, we were back out to finish the job that we had started last week and progressed relatively well considering the weather conditions that we were faced with. As you can see, the snow has now all thawed out. We had a significant amount of rain last night and over the weekend, and it is, basically got rid of all the snow. It is good because we can now see what we're doing and we can crack on with most things that you cannot do when the snow is on the ground. But it is also really wet. It has rained pretty religiously all day. So yeah, we're just getting this job wrapped up. I've got the trailer on. I'm away through to get a couple of ton of soil to take it to the job so they can import it to the beds and sort of reinstate bits where they have been digging out for the fence. Not the ideal conditions to be moving soil in, but needs must. We have to do it. We have to get it in, and once it's in and raked out, it'll soon dry out, and then that job's done. It's wrapped up. I don't want to go back there until we go into phase 2 of planting new stuff into the beds. Our new office admin has started this morning. Katrina has came on board. As mentioned in last week's vlog, she came in a couple of days last week to just get up to scratch with Gillian and Gillian showed her and helped sort of the whole transition between the roles, and she's getting on fine back at the office. I made a point of being in the yard this morning. It's currently 20 to 1. I've been in the yard most of the morning, so I've been there to answer questions and just sort of guide her in her first day, but she has been pretty self-sufficient again and just popped round and asked questions as and when needed. So it's looking promising. I'm glad to have filled the role relatively quick. We did have quite a few applications, but that one was the most sort of appealing to us, and we'll see how it goes. I woke up to a message this morning from someone on Instagram. He basically said he's came across these videos and it's been a breath of fresh air to know that he's not alone in his business journey, as a lot of social media people out there don't show the real ins and outs of what it takes to run a business. They show just the good, the glam, and it's easy for people like him who are trying to grow a business and are facing challenges to compare yourself to that sort of level, where it would be easy for me to go and share everything good and when everything's going well and it looks great and buying new vans, buying new kit, but I'm pretty overly transparent in problems that I face in a day-to-day. I've touched on this before. It comes with a sense of vulnerability as well, because I'm showing and sharing quite sensitive figures and details. But the whole idea of this video and vlog is to be transparent and to show you guys the proper journey, the ins and outs for not just everyone, but me personally in growing this business and the challenges I face and how I overcome them and stuff. It will be slightly different to everyone, but a lot of people can relate, which is also a breath of fresh air for me. But when I receive messages like that, thanking me for putting these vlogs together. It humbles me every time, and it is really important that feedback comes through, because a lot of times I second guess myself and question myself, should I be sharing this? Do people actually find value in it? And I think the support I've had over the last couple of years, I would say it is worthwhile, and I really do hope that you guys can benefit from these videos. Yes, of course, it's good for me to celebrate the wins and show that to you guys as a form of encouragement, and I appreciate that a lot of people kind of want to be in the same position as I am in now, to what I've grown this business from, you know, really humble beginnings. Started off with a push bike and trailer, and now we're, you know, I'd say a proper running business now. It's not great. It's not where I'd like it to be. There's a lot to improve. There's still a lot to do. Every day is a school day, but I am pretty proud of how far we've came. And I'm glad, I'm so glad that I started documenting the journey, because now I've got an abundance of video that I can watch back and just remember how we've progressed in that journey. I've got a log, a diary log of that evidence. So thank you for that message. It's always something nice to sort of wake up to. And yeah, I hope you guys continue to enjoy the vlogs. I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media over the years, and a few years ago now I actually deleted it all, and for that sort of month I was off it to a certain capacity. I maybe had like one or two things like Facebook. No, I think I actually went through a phase of actually deleting it all, and the clarity that you got from that was pretty liberating, but it also felt like quite a lonely place, because the whole world revolves around social media now. But what you soon realise is the people who you thought were your friends, or thought that, you know, would notice or reach out, didn't, and the ones who did care reached out to you and checked, are you okay, or all these things. Because if you're not on these, you know, Snapchat, I haven't had Snapchat for a number of years, a very salty subject between my pals, all these sort of places where you would regularly communicate with people. Well, now I just use WhatsApp mainly, and I'm back on Instagram. So when I decided to come back to social media, I've accepted the fact that it's not going anywhere. It is the way the world goes now, and I've decided to be a creator rather than a consumer. It's still easy to get in the rabbit hole of consuming a load of nonsense that is put out there on social media. So many different political views and so many different people that you compare yourself to, and different businesses and different opinions. It's a lot for the human brain to sort of consume and regulate. I don't know what the word would be. So it's important that you just be careful how you use it. And a lot of my social media now is mainly work-related stuff, self-development, and more positive stuff, amongst all the other nonsense that comes up on your For You page. And just touching on this because of that message that I received this morning about the transparency that I'm giving out on the videos, I wanted to give a really raw side to my journey and not sugarcoat it and roll it in sprinkles and make it look better than it was. It had to be authentic, it had to be relatable to people. And amongst all of the nonsense out there where people make themselves look better than they are, like, let's be real, on people's Instagram, are they going to share the bad stuff that goes on in their life? Everyone's got this sort of, you know, oil painting of how good their life is and all the good side of things, which is great. I'm all for that. It's good to have these things. But when you've got people coming on and comparing themselves to said people, they don't realise that behind the scenes there is a lot going on that they don't know about, and their business isn't as perfect as it's made to be out on social media. And it's important to see that, you know, through a lens that allows you to be a bit more open-minded about it, and not just compare yourself to the filtered Instagram post that goes up and shows just how good everything is and positive. That being said, I am a believer that it's important to use social media in a positive manner, in a positive way, with all the negativity out there. And this is what I'm trying to do. This is what my sort of mission statement, as if you like, would be, is to share my journey, to share the wins, to share the losses, but to also be as transparent as I possibly can in said journey and show people what it really takes. because we also live in a culture now where nobody wants to work for an employer, everyone wants to go out themselves, and nobody wants to be a slave to the system and all this sort of stuff, where I agree to a lot of these things, and I guess I am trying to go out and make something for myself. A lot of that is nonsense, because not everyone wants to be a business owner. Not everyone wants to employ people and go out and be their own boss. We paint having jobs as a lower tier thing. It is what makes the world go round. And, you know, a lot of the people wouldn't be stupid enough to come and do what I do and put myself through what I put myself through, and other business owners and entrepreneurs and stuff. Doesn't mean that we're some sort of special. It just means that this is what I've chosen and this is what I'm wanting to do. I hate it when people downplay, you know, being employed. Of course, if you're in a job that you hate, then the chances are you need to get out of that job and go and do something a bit more enjoyable, something that you have a passion in, not just work 9 to 5 for the sake of it. On the flip side of that, life isn't fair, and unfortunately money is what makes the world go round, and sometimes you've just got to suck it up. Guten afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you? Good. Just a wee eye going, following you.
Creepy little thing.
What's the crack? Where are you wanting this? I'm gonna unhook it. So.
You can unhook it.
Is it worth putting it where the crafter is?
Maybe, yeah. Let's move that. Craft it here.
Okay. Right. I'll wait until you get out of the way. And again, just touching on that, all that mentality is what social media has created, from the person in Bali who is working off their laptop, making thousands of pounds a week, and the average Joe blogs is comparing themselves to that person. Yes, it's possible to go and do these things, but it isn't for everyone. If it was for everyone, we wouldn't have a world that functioned properly. We need different levels of jobs. You know, this is what society, this is what happens in society. You know, you need joiners, you need sparkies, you need plumbers, you need baristas, you need Tesco workers, you need all these things for a world to function properly. I don't want to be going and sharing the false information or not making any sense. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will understand what I'm talking about. In summary, be open-minded about what you see on social media, because it isn't all what it seems. All right, the rain stopped.
Yes.
Just. Oh, that smells, that juniper stuff.
I know.
It's amazing. A job well done. Now, unfortunately, just with the lay of the land, the fences had to sort of step down and follow the ground. But it still looks good. Uh-huh.
Aye.
Yeah. Looks terrible.
No. Close board fence.
Is that your bottle?
Mm-hmm.
You got a licence for that?
Aye.
Got a licence to do fencing?
You don't need a license.
So just stopped in with the trailer, dropped off the trailer with the soil in it, checked in how the guys were doing, had a chat with the customer. They were both delighted. They were just talking about now phase 2 of planting up the beds. Again, we're getting more work from this job. So it goes hand in hand, maintaining someone's garden to be able to then go and do projects like this. We took over this garden for someone who I know, who had a grass cutting round, wanted to scale it back a little bit, and then passed on these customers to us. We've been maintaining the garden for a couple of years now, and now it's led into a significant sized project and a long-lasting relationship with the customer. So it's really nice to see how well that works together. We've got regular income from regular maintenance. They trust us to come in and maintain the property every 2 weeks through the summer. We then get the trimming of the bushes and a general tidy up in the sort of autumn, spring months. And then it's also led to a project like this. So it's important to get your foot in the door with many regular customers as you can. Uphold that standard through regular maintenance. Whether it leads to a project or not doesn't really matter, but if it does, then it's a bonus that you don't have to go and then get a new customer, build a new relationship, build a new level of trust. You've already built that with the customer through maintaining them on a regular basis, and you can then produce more, revenue from said customer. So yeah, we've very much shifted from trying to get more customers to doing more for the customers that we already have. Of course, it's important, you want to get new work coming in, but the more you can upsell to the customers that you already have, the better. We had a complaint last week from a regular customer who is quite an elderly lady. It was actually her daughter that got in touch. Just a few things that she wanted to make us aware of from our last visit there. We cut the grass on a regular basis, we trim all the hedges and shrubs, and that was all fine. But we went to go and give the garden a general tidy up of leaves, debris, and clear out the beds and stuff. It was the afternoon of a very wet day. The guys were a little bit later on the job that they were already doing that day, but they got there, they did it. We've done it the last couple of years, but there was just a few things she was just a little bit unhappy with, in terms of there was a little bit of sort of mess left. It was really wet, a really wet day. The guys were soaked, and when you're trying to clear up and blow, like, a lot of the grass and stuff gets kind of stuck to whatever it's around and you can't really get it off. And then also with the dark coming in. I made it clear to the client that I'm not making excuses for this at all, but I'm just giving you a reason for these things and making her aware that it's not just negligent, on our behalf. Another thing, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of it, plastic pots and planters, very easily broken, and for people who haven't really strimmed before, or the newer guys, it's not easy to know that if you're going to strim up against these things when you've normally strimmed up against fences, borders and stuff like that, these things shatter like that. And two small planters that were there, just two small trays, had done just that. They'd shattered. And again, I held my hands up, said that is not obviously on. We should just, typically we just move the planters. We're usually pretty good at that. Lights, solar lights, we know are, as landscapers, as grass cutters, or whatever you want to call us, they can be a nightmare as well, because they get caught up in the long grass, and before you know it, when you've got ear defenders on and glasses on, it's sometimes not easy to see these things sticking up just a little bit out of grass before it's too late. Again, these are things that we can't really just go and say, oh, well, it's not our fault, we have literally broken the thing. But I think that one had been broken for a while. And just a little bit, the other thing was a wall. There's a small, like, dry stone wall with some, like, slate, thinner slate tile stuff on top, kind of just like in a mix match position. When the guys were blowing off at the end of the job, those stones uplifted with the backpack blowers displaced, and obviously the guys haven't put it back to where, like, you wouldn't notice it without drawing your eye to it, but they haven't put it back into sort of the positions they were in before. So it's difficult for me as the owner to go to these jobs that I haven't been on myself and then hear that from the client, and then I've obviously trying to get the story from the other guys. Spoke to Kyle. Kyle said, let's go and fix it, but again, it was a dark, soaking wet day. They got the job done. The garden looks great. It's all these just little fine details that she just wanted a bit more care and attention to, which I 100% agree. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because you're going to get things like this. When I got the email through to say that she wasn't happy with a few things, I felt sick. You always do. I didn't start blaming the customer or saying this, that. I didn't go in the defense. I said, thank you very much for bringing this to my attention. We of course value your mum as a customer of ours for the last number of years, and I really do mean that, especially being on she is an elderly woman, and we want to make sure she's happy with everything, and she typically is. The garden looks great, but arranged to meet the daughter. It's totally fine. Just showed us what she was on about. I 100% just thanked her for bringing it to my attention. Acknowledge that I'll get the team leader back round to have a look, and then we'll come and rectify this. And as a gesture of goodwill, I'd replace the planters, and then also the lights that have been there for a number of years now, I think. So we haven't necessarily broke them ourselves. I says, as a gesture of goodwill, we will come and put some lights back on. So I've got some solar lights just to go back round so our mum can see it from the window. So it's about trying to go above and beyond and fixing the problems that you're inevitably going to come across, especially when you've got staff undertaking the work for you. It is important to delegate, and it's important not to let that change your mindset on that. We have got such a good team here, right? But it is easy for everyone to mess up, or easy for everyone just to miss bits, or to even me, I can break things. I can be somewhat careless sometimes. We're all human. It's important to realise that, and it's just important to hold the guys accountable, get the guys back around to go and fix it, so they know that let's try and avoid this going forward, and how can we learn from it? How can I be accountable? The job they did in the morning overran into the afternoon, which pushed them back a little bit, and then they're cleaning up in the dark. So these little things, where can I look to try and improve things, and where have I gone wrong? Of course, there's a lot of times where it's just like, you've been careless, you need to fix that, own it, go and do that, go and sort it out, and that's fine. But a lot of the times there can be accountability on both ends. So I'm just pulled into the garden centre now to go and try and find a couple of small planters. Kyle and Dav are going to leave that job in Aviemore and head back and try and get that sort of wrapped up. And the guys are going to finish that job in Aviemore and head back to the yard. So a somewhat successful Monday. I was a bit anxious to begin with, but now I'm kind of okay. I could go on another coffee and lunch. I'm starving. Good morning, folks. It is Tuesday. We are in the new workshop. I have spent a bit of time over the weekend, a little bit of time on a Sunday, and came up and started moving things in. Just want to try and utilise this space through the colder months as much as possible. We do have a bit of water coming in the back, which is a bit of an issue and that we need to sort. Yeah, just the way the sort of shed was built before. We started renovating the back before we then decided to do the rest of it somewhat properly. This has all been framed out, everything else has been framed out, papered, tile bat, air gap batten, board. The back wall is the only one that hasn't had that. And obviously all the water sort of runs down there anyway. And when we were cladding the back of the shed, I got Ed to do it, but I completely forgot to tell him to put the sarkin down past the concrete, because that's obviously important to stop water coming in. So we tried stopping the water with some DPC, which didn't work, and now we're going to have to strip off the back of the shed to try and just do it properly, do it once and get it right, and then that's it. It's all done. I don't have to worry about anything. So yeah, there's always something. I cannot believe we're saying it again, but it is wages on Friday again. You'd think it happens every month. But yeah, quite stressful at the moment, just trying to manage cash flow, make sure we've got enough coming in. Very much aware that as we move into December, we'll be finishing obviously probably on the 19th of December for 2 weeks. So that's going to be 2 weeks without getting any cash flow in the bank. And it is also what sort of put us back a little bit last year with the sort of cash flow side of things. Yeah, it wasn't fun. So this next little while, we're going to have to try and just push on and get as much as we can done before the Christmas holidays. And yeah, just do what we can. Kyle, Daff and Joe are at the distillery today. They're cracking on with a bit more hedge trimming, tree pruning. There's some rhododendrons at the back of one of the warehouses that needs to be cut back and reduced. A couple of years ago, we cut back one stretch of rhododendron right back down to stock because it was just getting way too out of control, so we completely cleared that out. They're not wanting that done this time, they're just wanting a bit more of a general sort of tidy up and reduction of the roadies. So it's good that we're getting through that, and good that we're obviously prioritising the distillery. Dam and Mole are up at a new project that we're just starting today, breaking out some tarmac areas, an old gravel area, putting some edging in and finishing the area with pink gravel again. So another simplistic approach. It's what the client asked us for, so it is good. I always kind of question myself at like how popular would the 20mm crushed chips jobs be, because that's what we kind of really do now. We obviously, if you've been watching, we've been coming away from the hard landscaping like patios and stuff like that, lock block, which we've never done. I love the idea of doing it, but it's just not what fits my business model and where we're trying to take things. It is difficult enough to get staff that are good enough to go out and cut grass and do a good job, never mind staff that are experienced enough in the trade of laying patios, all the sort of hard landscaping tasks. That is very widely underestimated. You need a lot of experience in landscaping to do it properly, and in a world where skilled labour is extremely short, and the guys that are relatively good enough will be doing it for themselves the majority of the time. So just the way we've wanted to take the business, we've pivoted away from that, and it has been quite a liberating feeling saying no to clients who ask us for a patio. No, we don't actually do that, but we can help you with this other aspect of the garden. And before, it would be like, yeah, I'm sure we could, yeah, we've done a wee bit of patios before, and that uncertainty is not good. It's not good for the business, it's not good for your mental health, your stress levels, because if you're not confident in going and doing something, it's quite difficult to do that very well without spending way longer on it than you should, and just being constantly stressed the whole time. Now, I'm very much aware that if you haven't done something before, a lot of the time you've just kind of got to go and do it and go and figure it out and make it happen. And I have done that in the past. I've laid patios in the past. I've done X, Y, and Z in the past, which has made me really anxious and stressed me out, but I've learned how to do it. Truth be told, we don't do enough of it to get consistently good at it, and it's not really something I want to do anymore. I want to try and keep it simple, a simple system that people can follow, that you can onboard people quickly and get them up to scratch, producing revenue, very much trying to simplify the services that we offer, but do them really, really well, rather than doing everything under the landscaping umbrella and either doing it half-arsed or, not as well as we'd like to, or not as reliable or not as quick, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, simple projects, gravel. If they don't want gravel, they can do something else. If they don't want a hard stand, they can go with someone else. It's just what we offer, and it's just having that ability to say, no, we don't actually do this. And it has been really, really liberating. So if you're struggling, if you're in the same sort of situation as I find myself in, I'd very much recommend looking at possibly streamlining your services. You kind of start off and you kind of offer everything because you want to get busy, you want to do the work, you want to try and dip your toe in everything. Then as you get to a certain size or a certain point where then you have to then rely on other people to go out and do the work, and you're having to delegate, the harder the task is, the harder it is to delegate, because you're either dealing with inexperienced people, which is not the guy's fault. Like, none of these guys, apart from Kyle, have came from a landscaping background. So it is literally train them up on the job and go out and produce the revenue. And they are doing that. And we've got a good little team here, and they are up to speed. The moment you have a complex task that none of them have done, I cannot leave that job. I've got to be there. I've got to babysit it. I've got to, manage it. And it's not great, because then it relies on me. So yeah, fencing, something that I used to be petrified of. I used to have to be there. I have to put the posts in because I knew they have to go in right. Now, over time, having delegated that to the guys, they go and do fencing without me even really having much of an input. They'll ask me questions, of course, and I'll answer them for them, but they'll set it up, they'll work it out themselves, and I don't necessarily have to be there. And that's the sort of thing that you want to encourage into the business. Of course, fencing is a complex trade, but once you kind of know what you're doing, it's quite easy to follow, and we do enough fences to get enough practice to go out and do it with confidence. Of course, no two fences are the same. You're working with the ground, you're working with different environments and different landscapes, but the whole fundamental is the same, and you just have to have a bit of figuring out. The guys go out, they set up the jobs themselves. I don't necessarily have to be there. I'll obviously answer questions as and when needed, and point them in the right direction and give my opinion if they ask for it. But ultimately, it's something that's kind of handed over to the guys. And it comes with time. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't just expect to employ people and go and do it. The reason I've been able to do that is because I used to be out there on the tools with them. I used to be there. They used to be helping me with the fence, and I was directing the jobs. Slowly but surely, you kind of slowly take a step back, right? You take the lead on this fence. You take a couple of guys and go and start it. The more you sort of delegate that responsibility and step back, then the more confident that the guys will get in delivering that without you being there. Of course it goes wrong. Of course there's bits that aren't great. Of course there's sometimes the posts go in and they're slightly off plumb, or the line, but it's all learning. And if I need to stop and say, guys, look, this is wrong, I will say it. I have no problem with saying that, like, guys, this needs to be better, the standard needs to be better. And it's about holding your team accountable and about them holding themselves accountable too. Client just telling me that they're going to be doing a review. So just to share this with you, we've been pushing reviews pretty hard this year. We're currently sitting on 95 5-star reviews on Google. We're aiming for 100 by the end of the year. Now, this fence that we did yesterday, the customer's delighted. We've obviously been maintaining the garden for a number of years, but they've never left us a review. It's in all the invoice emails, but sometimes clients need a prompt to go and do that. If you just have it in your email, it's not always an effective way. If you're on site and the client's chuffed and they're happy, that's when you ask for a referral. Listen, so glad that you're happy for the job. We are pushing for our 100 reviews on Google. It would be great to hear your thoughts. There's a review link in the email. It would be really appreciated if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review. And when you say that in person, or give them a direct text, like I have just done here, then yeah, it does work. I'll read you out what I said. Hello, customer's name. I just wanted to follow up on the job and make sure you're happy with everything. Did you receive my final invoice? Also, on the invoice email, there is a link to a Google review. We're trying to get to 100 reviews by the end of the year, and it would be really appreciated if you could leave your honest experience with us. Any issues, please let me know, and we will work on the planting plan in the meantime, which we're going to be going back to do. She's just got back to me. Okay, you guilted me to doing a review. First one I have ever done. It took me to look at other reviews. Very impressive. Look forward to receiving the plan. Cheers, Janice. So thank you, Janice. Well, it'll be interesting to see what review she leaves. The client has very particular taste and is quite, you know, what's the word? Very similar to me. Very precise, and OCD wants things done right and looking the same. So yeah, perfect example of sharing that with you guys. Hopefully they will be our 96th 5-star reviews, and hopefully by January the 1st we will have 100 5-star reviews on Google, and that goes a massive way in you getting work from future clients. So as you can see, 96 Google reviews, and I've not read it, so you're getting my live reaction. If we go to newest, we have been using Ben and his team for quite a few years for maintenance and specific projects. Ben is helpful with advice. The team have just finished another significant project and have done an excellent job, leaving the garden and surrounds tidy and in order. The team were courteous at all times and respectful to our neighbours and respect moving vans and equipment. I would not hesitate to recommend Morrison Lawn and Landscape. And actually, the partner of the client has left out a review as well. It was a bit more simpler. 5-star nonetheless. Great outfit and very reliable. I believe this was a year ago because I responded to it a year ago, but it says just edited just now. So yeah, there you have it. Let's read out another one. We would recommend this company who have just finished installing a deer-proof fence in our back garden. You'll have seen that in the video. We were kept informed of every stage of the work, most impressed at preventative measures taken to prevent damage to grass area that a digger was required to go over. All involved were polite and conscientious. Christ. Excellent work as usual. The team are totally amazing, very friendly, efficient and hardworking. I'd thoroughly recommend. 3 weeks ago, excellent service from Ben and his team. Responded quickly to initial inquiry for a replacement of a 60-metre stretch of garden fence. That was in the last vlog. Clear quote giving enough detail and options. Arrived when they, no, the vlog after, the vlog before. Arrived when they said they would. A couple of unexpected issues that needed resolving once the work started, but Ben sorted these with minimum fuss and communicated the issues along with costs involved. All the staff were excellent, very pleased with the completed work. The garden was left tidy on completion. Would certainly use them again if work needed in the future. As a large-sited commercial customer, we really value that every detail is constantly maintained week to week, month to month. I've had a peace of mind that the job will be carried out flawlessly. The team are prompt and proud of their work. Now see, when you read all these things, it is such a tremendous feeling, and when you get a compiled amount, it is quite powerful. And for someone who's coming to look at your business and look at working with you, they just need to read a few of these reviews to realise that they're approaching a very well respected and highly reviewed company, and that's what we're striving to be. And it is really important that you try and collect as many reviews as you can. So we have a generic invoice email that has a review link. We would really appreciate if you could leave us a review, blah blah blah, review link. And then also, if you're on site with a customer, it's no problem at all to prompt. You are running a business, you're trying to grow your business. Do not feel ashamed in asking for a review. It goes a massive way in, you know, building a small business. And if your client appreciate you, they will, you know, do this. Don't get disheartened if they don't. It's easy for people to forget. I typically only ask once, and if they don't, then I won't pester them again. So yeah, we've obviously done way more than 96 jobs. So it just shows you that certain ones we'll forget. One that we got 2 months ago from the turfing job that we did. Ben and the team at Morrison Lawn Landscape recently completed a project to re-image the front garden of our home at Bridge, which was professionally delivered on budget. I was impressed by the professionalism and personal commitment of Ben, who meticulously managed the project, which was expertly crafted by his team using quality materials. Ben and the team were actively involved in the design from vision to creation, during which their communication was outstanding, providing regular updates including video clips to inform design decisions and ensure customer satisfaction. We are absolutely delighted with the final creation, and we would recommend Morrison Lawn and Landscape in respect of quality, value and client experience. Thank you, David and Fiona. It's all there, folks. It's all there. This is the job that we're on. An area of old gravel that's kind of just seen it past sell by date. We're going to be digging all this out around the back of the oil tank, cleaning all this up. All this wood the guys had moved from here, moved it over there. This was actually an additional area that we agreed to do this morning because they said they might get us back in to do the rest of it at a later date, when I said I'd rather not be clambering over the work we've just done. So give him a price, happy to go ahead, blah blah blah. Again, there's gravel in here, old soily gravel on top of membrane. Now you can see the previous owners used plastic, which isn't permeable and doesn't allow the water to pass through. And you can just see how much soil has accumulated over time on top of the gravel. This is supposed to be clean chips. So it is definitely a maintenance thing. I tell all my customers, these leaves, they need to be collected because they will rot down into compost and sit on top and cause you an issue. Digging out the edge of the house here, redoing that of gravel. This is all getting broken out. We've got the pecker for the mini digger there. Another area around the corner that's to be gravelled as well. So yeah, just trying to tidy all this area up for them. It'll certainly look better when it's done. Got the A-team on site, whack-a-mole, digger dam. It's somewhat cold today. The sun is coming out and it's starting to slowly rise up the temperature. But I was on the digger there and I cannot feel my fingers. I had gloves on. Of course, when you start moving, the guys in the wheelbarrow were stripping off their clothes. Not all of them, you weird people. It is always quite nice when it gets to this time of day, sort of midday, when it does warm up. The sun's out and shining now, and yeah, it is a really stunning day. Hopefully see off the rest of the snow. It's due to get a little bit milder, I think. We are still due to clear some leaves. Literally next door to that project we have a big garden to clear of leaves, big heavy leaves as well, and hopefully we can then put the Ferris blower to test, which you'll have seen that got delivered in the last video. It is on demo, might I add. There was quite a while there where the trailers were not out on site, and then all of a sudden they're out all the time. And again, I am back on shuttling duty of taking material away from the job. We have a closer tipping site now, so it makes it not as much of a burden travelling so far. So it's literally 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back, and I'm taking away, like 2.5 ton at a time. So just making it work between, making sure the guys have got stuff to do whilst I'm away, and then when we come back, or when I come back with the trailer, we focus on getting the trailer loaded up and getting the material out. We're going to need a significant amount of chips. I say significant, it's going to be significant compared to having to do it with a trailer. So maybe between 10 and 15 ton. Don't think you'll need as much as that, but we'll see, to fill all the areas. So I'm going to arrange for that to be delivered by a lorry, so it saves us the logistics of running back and forth. Because this thing, as much as I love driving it, is a gutsy bugger, and it takes time. It's wear and tear. It's probably not going to last forever. It is a workhorse at the end of the day. I'm glad it's out there and its keep, and it's not just a show pony. This thing gets dirty. This thing pulls a lot of weight. And it's been a pleasure since I've got it, and we're on 25,830 miles so far, and that has been in the space of just under a year. I got this thing in December of last year, so we're approaching its first birthday, and we have surpassed a year ago where I wrote off my old Ranger. Very much touching wood that we do not do that again, because that was not a fun time. And I can certainly not afford to put a down payment on a new one if said were to happen, but it won't. Definitely going to eat my words now. Ed is currently off today, and he was off yesterday. He's hopefully going to be back in tomorrow. Unfortunately, had a bereavement in the family, so he was taking compassionate leave for that. I'm pretty flexible with the guys. I mean, of course, everyone's going to let someone go to a funeral. Of course, that's absolutely fine. But I would just highlight the fact that I'm relatively flexible with the guys of last minute things. Yes, they're in a job. Yes, they get set holidays that they take, and ideally we need at least 2 weeks notice before my holidays. But some things come up last minute, and some people forget. And as long as it's not going to be too detrimental to us, I'm pretty forgiving in that aspect, and try and be as flexible as I can, because it isn't all about work, and I feel like you should be able to have time off when you request it. One thing you've got to be careful though is make sure that not everyone takes the holidays at the same time. October holidays, for example, some of the team have got kids, and it is sometimes difficult to say no when they're both trying to arrange childcare and stuff like that. And yeah, something to consider when you start employing people. So we're back on site. You've just seen Sean has been screening some gravel, so it's always quite a cool procedure to watch. We've just had our lunch. We're going to crack on and try and get this trailer full again. I'm just going to try and get as many loads away as I can. Joe, what did you do?
My woolly hat got chipped through the chipper. Got caught in a branch, it came off my head and went boom. Gone.
So you
Don't
need to
put
buy a
your hat
new
next.
hat.
See, is that bad, Joe?
Poor Joe. I suppose I better get him a new hat. This is an original Morrison bobble hat. That doesn't look very good because you can't really read it because it's grey on grey. But it is the only one I have left. I have ordered more, so I'm going to give this to Joe. Tell me I'm the best boss in the world,
You're the best boss in the world.
and I love working here,
What the fuck's that, man? I love working here.
and I wouldn't have any other job.
Well. Oh, Joe, do you know what? What's this? We're getting
Oh,
a
that's
new
my
game
new hat.
tonight. Lawnmower Simulator.
Appreciate it.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
That's an OG hat. There's only one of.
The OG hat, see? I'm gonna write JP in there so he doesn't steal it.
It's got a new hat. Look.
Is it a Chris hat? No, he's dying for a Chris
It's a Morrison hat.
Oh, Mark.
It's the original.
Oh, really?
I've heard it's a more. It's alright. You'll get a new one.
I'm not really a pom-pom guy, though.
£10, please.
Huh?
£10 if you want it.
That's okay.
Well, good afternoon. It's currently 3:30. I've not really filmed an awful lot today. In the morning, I was in the office just waiting for the IT guy to come and sort out the computers between myself and Katrina, who's now in the office. When Gil joined, I got her a laptop, obviously, and we were just converting everything over and had to change from I think it was on a personal license to change it to like a business license, and then also a shared drive so that we can both see like spreadsheets and files and stuff like that. Yeah, just so everything's in sort of one space. So I was introduced to Matt, who is all about IT, and he came and sorted it all out for us. So it is a step forward in the systemizing and streamlining of the business. Now, I know it seems very basic, but when it comes to IT, I'm useless. In fact, useless is probably an understatement. Kat, our new admin assistant, has been busy just getting familiar with the systems and everything that we sort of use, finding our way around, you know, just getting herself familiar with like different softwares to what she's, you know, typically used in terms of admin softwares. We use Cashflow. I know a lot of people use like Sage and QuickBooks, and I just need to make sure that I am giving her the attention and time needed to help her adjust to things, answer questions, where does this go, what is this for, yada yada yada. Obviously she doesn't want to fully just go in guns blazing and start, you know, submitting things and sending things and what have you if she's not 100% sure on what it is. So obviously I appreciate that she will want to check things, and yeah, just the same as when, you know, Gil had first started. So it's looking promising. As I say, she's on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday full days, but on a part-time basis, obviously, you know, just to try and give her the full days rather than like spreading the work from Monday to Friday but having like less hours. At least that way she's got full days in between to go and do other things, and then eventually we will move into full time once we've kind of got up to speed with things. I just want to make sure that there's enough for her to do and enough for her to keep her busy and occupied rather than just filling her spare time. And then it also gives me a little bit more breathing space to, you know, slowly delegate things, introduce new things for her to do. And with her landscaping sort of experience, she's just done a diploma in landscape design. With that, once she's on top of all the admin stuff, that is the more important thing, then hopefully we can dabble into that and see how she can, you know, assist with that side of the business and maybe have a bit more involvement in like pricing and getting the materials, plans and all this sort of stuff. So yeah. Kyle, Ed and Joe are back at the distillery today. They're cracking on with the rhododendrons and the hedges that they've been cutting back. So they'll be done today, I'd imagine, for the next wee while. It's good to get on top of the distillery stuff and keep the sites looking tidy. We've also got a tree that needs to come down across the road from the distillery that has died and it needs to be safely felled. Hoping we are able to fell it into the field. It'll mean taking the fence down, just the wire fence, but the guy who works on site can do that because it is leaning that way, so it's leaning into the field, so it would be better and easier than having to try and pull it back the way. Obviously we can't climb, we don't have our climbing tickets, so anything that requires climbing is a bit difficult for us to do. We have in the past obviously got climbers in, but it's not always easy to sort of arrange. Mainly I don't really know any subcontracting climbers around the area, and that's something I probably need to look at finding out, because it will be handy to know. And I'm still toying with, do we move into the tree work side of things a little bit more? It would certainly help cash flow issues in the winter, where you can still go and do tree work come the winter time. It's not great, it's not fun. Most things aren't really when there's 4 inches of snow, but it may be an answer to an issue that arises every 12 months, and that being the winter. But with that comes a completely new sort of realm to the business. Of course, I have a basic understanding of tree work. I've done my felling tickets, I've done my wind blow. That is really quite irrelevant though, because I'm growing the business to a stage that hopefully doesn't need me to be in it. So as much as I like the tree work, I like doing it, I love having a chainsaw in my hands and processing wood and what have you, felling trees, it is like therapy to me. It's one thing that I really like doing. It's just seeing the chipper working, chipping through a heap of brash, getting wood, call me weird, but it's just something that I like. It's definitely one of my preferred services that we offer, but we do not do an awful lot of it, and that comes with its own issue in terms of experience and giving the guys enough experience. We're turning out sort of landscaping jobs and fencing jobs pretty regularly, so we're pretty good at that. The guys have a basic understanding of what's to be done on each job, and we can rattle them out. If you've got complex trees that need to be felled and safely dismantled, rigging and all that, tree surgery is such a complex trade in itself. There's so many different ways and means to do things safely. Safety is of course just 100% the main priority, because when you're up in a tree, the liability then is pretty significant. So still toying on whether we go into that or if we try and simplify what we do. It's something that I've been battling for quite a while. I harp on about simple services and simplifying your systems and standardizing things so it is easier to do and easier to employ people, train them up and get them out there generating revenue. Or do you delve into a new complex side to the business? One thing I will mention is a lot of the tree work that we get, we are limited because of our inability to climb. So even small trees that need climb to be thinned or reduced or pollarded, there's only so much you can do from a ladder, and of course having a chainsaw in your hand up a ladder is completely a no-no. So it's either up a ladder with silkies and stuff or pole pruners, but it isn't great. You'd ideally want to be in the tree. That being said, because we have quite a portfolio of landscape customers and maintenance customers on our books anyway, we have a lot of people to upsell to. I can just imagine the MailChimp email campaign to send out to say, we now offer tree surgery. And I can imagine there'll be quite a lot of clients that we can upsell another service to and continue to do more for our clients. Part of me just says, like, you're in this for the long haul, Ben. It might not happen overnight. It might be something that obviously develops. It just feels like we're starting again, which somewhat is scary to, you know, from what we've built up. But at the same time, we have got the kit, we've got the chainsaws, we've got the tipper. No, it's not the best chipper in the world. It's still a chipper. No, it's not the most ideal tipper with the cage sides, but it's still a tipper. It doesn't have to be perfect to go and start. But I just know there's going to be a lot of learning to do on my end for me to get a bit of an understanding of things, so I know what I'm talking about, and then also trying to get a tree surgeon onto your team with, again, a labour pool that isn't rich in people who are experienced, and if they are, a lot of them tend to be working for themselves. So then again, you're relying on staff to carry out the job. I used Mike as an example in a previous video. Mike had a bit of knowledge in patios and stuff like that, so when he was here, naturally he was doing all these things, and we were taking on more patios and more sort of complex jobs like that. As soon as Mike left, I had all this patio work to do, but not Mike. So you've just got to be careful that you don't bottleneck things around one person. And the same with myself. Of course, I can't imagine me in my weight climbing trees day in, day out, and it's not the way I want to go. Not because I don't want to do that, it's purely because it's not what's right for the business. If a service relies on me, the owner, and none of the guys that you employ, it's not really a good thing. It's food for thought. I don't know how much sense that made, because I feel like I'm not making much sense today at all. I'm quite tired. But yeah, it's important to consider and important to analyse the different sort of angles to look at it from. But the reality is, I'm 23. I harp on about being able to step away from the business. I don't want to step away from this business. I 100% want to grow it and be a part of it for a long, long time. But I think it is important that you still build it in a way that you can either sell or step back. Not for that reason, but for the reason of something that is sellable or something that you can step back from, has the systems in place that doesn't allow you to be the bottleneck. That doesn't mean that you have to be there all the time, because that becomes pretty tedious over time, and it's very much what we're trying to come away from. So I still want to be involved in the business, but I don't want to have to be involved in the business, if that makes sense. I want to create something that runs itself, that operates itself, that, you know, has systems and procedures in place for people to follow, because you can't hand over a business to someone, you can't hand over the reins without the systems. You're just handing over mess. Anyway, another load to tip, and one step closer to getting that job done. Nice head torch, mate.
Thanks.
You supplied with good kit here.
Yes. The best of the best.
Oh, no way. Alright, mate.
How are you getting on?
I don't bad.
Did you not know the camera was on? Joseph, how are you getting on?
Good.
Good day? Hi, Kyle.
Hello.
Hello, Ed.
Hi. How you doing?
Not bad, you?
Tired, to be honest.
Tired?
Yeah.
Is that what working with Joe all day is like?
A couple litres.
A couple litres.
Shut up, girl.
How many litres are on the shelf, Joe?
Yeah, I can't got this.
That'll do. Those legs. Nice.
Snail.
Morning. What have we got here, Kyle?
A leaf. Yeah. A leaf spreader.
Don't say that. Have some optimism.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So, good morning. It is insanely mild today. Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. We were forecast for this, but compared to what it was like last week, snow on the ground, fucking cold. A week ago tomorrow, on the Friday, was horrendously cold, like really. Maybe like -6 or something. And that is cold, do you know what I mean? I know a lot of people will be like, oh, we've got -20 or 15 or, yeah, it's all relevant. So, guys are just getting loaded up. going to be continuing with the project that we've been on the last couple of days. The guys got finished up at Tormore yesterday as well, so we're now going to be starting a new tidy up job for one of our regular clients who we maintain on a sort of fortnightly basis. Going through the grass cutting season, we're going in to give the garden a bit of an overhaul, tidy up, thin out some of the trees, cut back the hedges. We're going to be putting bark mulch into the beds. Yeah, it'll just be good to tidy that up. We've also, as you saw, got the leaf blower. The Ferris leaf blower that we had delivered last week on demo. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. We do sometimes come across a tremendous amount of leaves where it is quite hard to push with just the normal leaf blowers. So yeah, hopefully put that to the test and see how it performs. Could be a purchase for next year, if the price is right. Smile. So just pulled down onto the job site where the guys are. Next door is a property that we are going to be clearing the leaves from, and as you can see in that garden and along the front here, there's some pretty heavy soaking wet leaves right the way around the property from these big beeches. There's a beech there. I'm not really good at my trees identification, but I do know that these need work done, and as I mentioned before, like, the potential for tree work around here is quite high, especially for customers that you've already got. So we've not worked for this client before, but we've been asked specifically to come in and do the leaves, and yeah, hopefully the stand-on leaf blower from Ferris is going to be really handy for that. The guys have got it at the other job today, so yeah, we'll just need to see how they get on there. It's just birch leaves, I'm pretty sure, really small things, so it'll be interesting to see how it performs. I threw a stick for the dog and drove off to make him run. Here he comes. Hey, where did you go? Where did you go? Hey, hey. What's up? What's up with you? Get down. What's up? You thought I ran off, didn't you? Oh. Speaking? Speak. Hello. Speak. So I have just dropped off another load of material. We'll have one load left by the time I go back. The guys are going to get the rest of it dug out. Pretty much everything is there. They've power washed around the oil tank and everything, so that's kind of ready to go for edging and teram. What we're going to do, we didn't plan to do this, but on the area around the front of the house, or the door of the house, we're going to put a bit of type 1 down just to allow that little bit of extra drainage for any water. Typically on areas like that we would just put teram and straight on top of the soil, but my concern is if that's going to be it's quite a wet area anyway. If there's teram and then chips, it's going to be constantly wet under the gravel. It's probably not going to be an issue, but it was quite muddy, so I thought dig it a little bit deeper, put the teram down, we'll put a little bit of type 1 on top, just a thin layer, 50mm or something like that, just a nice clean layer, and then the chips can go directly on top of that, just on the sort of main path area. We don't have it in the budget, or I don't think it's really necessary either to do right up in the far back corner and then on the other side of the house where we're digging out. It's just going to be teram and then chips. Going back to that age-old topic of should you put teram before chips, or if you're doing a driveway as such, it is up for debate which is best. In my personal experience and opinion, if you're doing a brand new driveway, say if you're digging out an area of turf or soil that needs to be, you need to create a new driveway, then we would do it in the form of digging out to a certain depth, putting a geotextile teram membrane on top of the soil, putting a compacted layer of type 1 on top of the membrane, and then finishing with a thinner layer of chips. Typically, if we're redoing a gravel driveway, which has obviously been infested with weeds over time, there's maybe a bit of soil contamination, and you're going to be weeding it forevermore, it's past the point of maintenance, let's redo it, we'll strip it out. Because the ground is typically hard anyway, it doesn't require us to dig out all of that hard compacted gravel. It's got a firm surface, it's just contaminated with weeds. So what we do is we scrape off the top layer, then we'll whack that hardcore, and then we'll put a Teram membrane on top, and then we'll just put 20mm chips, a sort of deeper layer than you would if you didn't have the membrane under it, on top. And then we compact it, we bed it in with the whacker plate, and that allows it just to settle on top of the chips. And what that does is it creates a clean stone above the ground. It's not mixing with the soil, and it's not got the chance of weeds to come up. However, I tell this to all my customers, I'm probably too transparent in the fact that it's never going to be a long-term solution for weeds, because what can happen if you don't maintain the driveway, if you don't get the leaves and everything off of the top, over time natural material will break down on top of the chips, find its way down to the bottom, sit on the membrane, and then it's a perfect environment for weeds to adhere and grow from. The weeds do not need much soil to germinate, and a lot of the times they're just sitting on top of the Teram. Now if you use really cheap membrane, the weeds will just poke through. It's not strong at all. You need to be using a geotextile Teram 1000 or Low Track 100. The purpose of that material is to act as separation from the subsoil below and the hardcore above, whatever you're putting above. It's a ground stabilization almost, where it stops the clean type 1 hardcore migrating into the soil and then creating imbalances. So I guess that means you don't necessarily have to dig down to the hard when you're doing certain patios, for example. Typically, if you're digging out for more structural surfaces or structural buildings or whatever, you would ideally want to dig down to gravel, hard gravel. But I think, from my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but from my understanding, that Teram allows you to put a stabilization mat in, because you might be digging down like a metre before you get to the hard, so it's not always feasible. So that if you put that Teram down on top of the soil, it does act as a bit of a stabilization. Then you can whack your base in layers, and then it's a firm, solid base. A lot of you will be bored of me speaking about that, but for the landscapers out there, anyone else who may have had a bit of controversy around the topic, yeah, it's still something that kind of we talk about depending on what job we come across, and it's just one of those things. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to do things. We have just done it that way a lot of times in the past, and it seems to have worked. But I always tell my clients, especially this job that we're on just now, they've got 2 trees at the back of the job, and that area that we dug out was absolutely littered with needles. I think it was a larch and a birch, littered with needles and leaves, and they're an absolute nightmare to clean off of gravel, as I'm sure a lot of you will know. So it's important that they either deal with those trees which is in the neighbouring garden, which I believe are just too big anyway, they need to come out of that space, and also if they don't disappear, try and get the leaves off of the chips as much as possible, because what will happen is it will break down into a natural material, turn into soil, then you've got the same problem again. Maintenance is key. Well, you might suggest using a different surface, but unfortunately budgets aren't always there for that, and it depends on what you're wanting to do and how much you prioritise that area. Gravel is a nice, cheap, ideal. I say cheap, there's still quite a lot of work involved, but it is a simpler sort of solution to hard standing areas where you want a sort of clean finish, and just something just to tidy up the area, something a bit more, I don't know, what's the word, functional. We could just put hardcore down in type 1 and some dust, but then, yeah, it depends what they want. Chips tend to be a decorative sort of finish for that. If you've made it to the end of that rant about chips, and when I say chips, I mean 20mm crushed stones, that's what we call them in Scotland. Chuckies, chips, chippings, I don't know what other people call it. Then, yeah, thank you for sitting through that spiel, and I hope it made some sense. I'd imagine if I go into my analytics, a lot of people will have clicked off at this point. I'm heading through to see Joe, Kyle and Ed, to see how they're getting on at this job. I'm going to try and jump on the blower if they haven't used it already, and see how it works. I'm pretty excited to give it a go. It may be something that, like I said this morning, if the price is right, it is a useful tool. We might keep it, we don't know. But of course, we're kind of coming to the end of leaf season. We might have a little bit to do, you know, next year, but yeah, could be a good addition. Quite a handy thing to have. Get off that. Digger. You winning? Winning? Good. So yeah, out on this project for again a regular customer. I've got all these leaves, a lot of branches and stuff that needed to be cut back from the fence. Ed's just chipping up the aftermath of that. We're going to be tidying up the garden, mulching the beds, and just giving it a general going over and a tidy up. But be interesting to see how the blower works on these leaves. I'm quite intrigued. You're not you. No, you hold it. Well, boys, we've got the edging in, so we're just going to be type 1ing up to here and no more, and this will just get chipped. Again, like I say, we don't have the budget for doing all the type 1, so I'm doing this off my own back in there, especially because it is a bit wetter and muddier. So Taram in here, type 1, and then the chips will go on top. No bother, mate. Tell us what you've done here, mate.
Just everything that you can see, mate. Dug all this out, the boys put the edging in earlier. Got it pretty good, then chucked down the Taram. Now we've got the type 1, and Ben went and got more, which we don't really need, but we're going to use it anyway.
We do need. Happy Friday.
Yes, one thing we need, wear the life jackets.
There is something there actually.
I was going to come out with it on.
Have a wonderful day, Ed. Stay dry. People have got to see the reality of working outside in the winter. Very motivating. Sticking at school. See come the summertime when they're all working in the office and you're getting a suntan, you know?
Not in Scotland, not in Ireland.
3 months of the year. So this is the reality of it. It's a pretty minging day today. We winning?
Yes.
Aye.
Morale high?
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Friday.
Thursday.
Thursday, aye.
Boys, the A team's coming out tomorrow.
Thursday.
Most certainly not playing football. How many guys to take off plywood? The full shebang minus Ed.
Oh, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I left it at the dump.
Stick at the dump.
Yeah.
Well, good evening guys, and it is a Friday evening. A successful end to the week. Kyle and Ed got finished on their job in Abbeymoor, got the bark mulch delivered and installed to the bed, so that's all looking good. The guys have also finished up at the gravel project, if you must, and it's looking good as well. It's fairly tidied up the sort of space there, and until you sort of see the before and afters, it's quite hard to tell. But there is a simple solution to a problem, and that is the customer delighted, and that's exactly what they looked for. They wanted a tidy up, and we've kind of went above and beyond to do that. More so than I sort of anticipated. We ended up putting some hardcore in, about 5 ton of hardcore into one of the areas to just give it a little bit of a firmer surface underneath the chips. Probably not necessary, but I just wanted to create that sort of clean surface because I didn't want the Taram sitting on top of just like wet mud, if you will. So yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of glad the week is kind of over. Wages are today, so we'll get those paid. I've been struggling to get into Sage, which is the accounting software that does all our wages and stuff. But because Gillian had been doing that up till now, me trying to log back into it, I needed to authenticate, and I cannot for the life of me get the code for this authenticator, and the accountants are closed today. So what I've told the guys is like, send me your pay slips that you get in an email, because I've got the emails there, but I need to log in to get what it actually is. So send me your pay slip and I'll get your wages paid. So it's been a bit of a hoo-ha this afternoon trying to get that sorted. The weather today was disgusting. There's no other way to put it. Wind, rain, cold wind. I think everyone's pretty beat, and I can only but thank the guys for their hard effort in this weather. And I probably don't tell them enough, because it's easy for me to get caught up in my own head, in my own problems with things. And it really is another great example of making sure that you've got your shit together in terms of finances for being one, your mental health, your own sort of stresses, trying to get on top of your stress, because you cannot fill from an empty cup. You cannot, lead a good working culture and boost morale and, be a leader and be a prime example if you're not that to yourself. So it's important to try and make sure that you've got everything else in place, with your ducks in a row as much as possible, so that you can be there to support and, lead a team efficiently. It's just something I'm mindful of, and it's easy if you're in a bit of a negative headspace or you've got stresses to either be snappy or get annoyed at stupid little things that really shouldn't annoy you, but they do. And it's important to see, although that might annoy you, how well the team are, actually working and getting the job done and stuff, and just to have that different perspective, an open mind, I guess, and self-awareness of yourself more than anything, and how you react to things and stuff. So to any of the guys that are watching it, thank you for your continued hard work. It makes a difference, and it's, we're still chipping on, we're still busy, we're getting through projects, we're getting wrapped up and getting on with it. That's all we can really do. So yeah, ready to go again next week. We've got a big fence project starting that we will probably arrive on Monday. Mo's been wrapping some posts in preparation for that, so we're trying to get ahead of the game there. Diggers on the trailer sort of ready to go out and tackle it. We'll need to rip down the fence and dig out or pull out the posts and stuff. So yeah, got a bit to do next week. I kind of spent today trying to keep on top of inquiries and stuff and make sure there's enough coming into the diary, because I've been kind of on the tools a little bit this week. I haven't been doing as much of that, so I need to make sure that when we get through the work that we currently have in the diary, we've got enough to keep going. So yeah, anyway, it's 5:10. I'm zonked. We're going to be in the yard tomorrow cracking on with the shed. Got Mark coming in, Mo and Joe are coming in for half a day, and we're going to try and crack on with that. So I'm probably going to have a bit of a chilled night and somewhat rest before then, unless I go to the gym. Thank you ever so much for watching, for your continued support. I really do hope people can take things away from these videos, whether it's tips, tricks, learning from my mistakes, or just some inspiration, whatever it may be. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And again, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in next week. Peace.